Good morning. I thought I'll make a video outside because it's a bit of a mess indoors. Although outside we might get bothered by some chickens, and the cat here was asking for some attention. Yesterday I brought home this wreck of a bicycle, an Altra. I don't think it's a special brand or anything. It's just a cheap bicycle. But I saw it had a nice saddle, so I saved it from the scrapyard. You gotta go. No, I want to sit with you. The mission for today is to make this thing disappear into my scrap metal container and try out the saddle, which isn't sagging and still in a pretty good condition. So chickens. So it might clean up nicely, just like that saddle that I restored a few days ago. So here's a closer look at the saddle. It's a B66 model, so not a B66S, like the one that I restored or fixed up recently. I think it still looks pretty good, a lot better than the one that I fixed up, although it is suffering from the same kind of problems. The leather is a bit dry. There's some chickens moving in. Can you please go away? I'm trying to make a video here. Yeah, you want some food. Now, can you please be quiet? They can be noisy, but they're fun animals. Alright, I'm back after that little chicken interruption, and I had myself a tea. So there is some play at the front of the saddle, just like that model that I fixed up. So I might have to replace this bolt with an M8. Although this is not as severe as the one that I fixed up, because most of the metal of this bracket is still there. But like this, it will eventually wear away. And it looks like the push bolt, I don't remember the proper name, has been extended quite a bit, and that has stretched the leather just like it is supposed to do. Here's the top of the saddle, and it is not sagging as much as that model that I fixed up, so that's good. I think my ass will like it. There's that chicken again. Go away. And here's a look at the rear of the saddle without my ass. And this still looks okay. There's hardly any rust on these springs or on the rest of the frame. A lot nicer than that saddle that I fixed up. Although it is kind of weird that these brackets for mounting a saddlebag have been moved to the front. I guess somebody was in here before, because it's not like you can move those things by hand. Now let's remove this saddle so I can put it on my uncle's bicycle and take it out for my daily exercise ride. So here's a look at the underside of the saddle, and that looks a lot nicer than that B66 model that I fixed up. That one looked like straw. This one is still smooth. So here's my uncle's old Gazelle bicycle. Let's remove this Chinesium saddle. This cheap saddle is actually quite comfortable. My ass likes it. It is starting to lightly rain. That kind of sucks. That changes my plans. So because of the rain, I moved indoors. And now I am first going to fix up this saddle take care of this rattle in the nose of the saddle. And that means dealing with these annoying fasteners inside those springs. I now know that Brooks makes a special tool for this push bolt or tension bolt, but I don't think they have a special tool for the springs or for the nuts inside these springs. Although so far so good. But it is getting more difficult as the nut moves up. Okay, I got one. Now the other. The whole spring moved. It is moving. The nut is moving. Maybe the brackets at the rear got moved this way. Got it. And now this thing I guess I need to loosen up the tension bolt, and I made a special spanner for that. I made my own Brooks tool from an old Roman Catholic spanner. Actually, I think this was already modified years ago when I worked on my old car. It's kind of stuck. I still cannot remove the frame. It is still kind of stuck. There it is. The thread on this bolt is a bit damaged. So here's a closer look at the front of the saddle, and there's a bit of wear there, but not as extreme as with that other saddle that I fixed up. I don't see a way of loosening up this pin, so I guess I'm going to use the Chinesium hacksaw again. And this time I will bring the camera. So there might actually be a C-clip underneath this top washer, but there's no way to get to it, so hacksaw it is. So the last time I cut through this pin, I cut it right here, but I also cut off some of this bracket. So this time I'm going to try and cut it on this side. Leave as much as possible from the original material. It might be difficult, but I can always use the angle grinder. I guess that's plan B. New plan, I'm going to cut it between these two legs of the frame. There's plenty of room there, and the bolt isn't thick there. I do not have to cut through the square section. And I got a screwdriver to wedge these two parts apart. So let's do this. And I installed a new Chinesium blade, so all of the teeth are still there. Man, this blade is terrible. Most of the teeth are already gone. I think that pin must be hardened. There at the end of the blade there are still a few teeth left, but in the middle there isn't any cutting action. They are definitely case hardened. And with the other saddle, most of the pin was worn away, so that probably took care of the hard part of the pin. I'm hardly scratching the surface. Okay. Problems. Or challenges. Yeah. Challenges. Let's call them challenges. Well, this might take a while. The camera is in my way, so I'm going to switch you off. So new plan, I'm going to try and grind this head away. And it will be difficult because there's no way I can grab that securely into the vise. I might have to switch to the Dremel, but that thing is rather flimsy and not really manly. Alright, let's try this. I got my ear muffs and safety goggles. But you guys be safe as well, okay? Here goes nothing. As you can see, I already started cutting into the front of the frame, because at the angle I was holding the grinder I could not see this front part. Alright, I will try a hammer and a chisel, see if I can get these parts away, but I'm not going to film that. But be sure I will remove this thing eventually. Damn, it is weird to talk with earmuffs. To my shame, frustration and embarrassment, I have started using the Dremel tool, or Ferrum tool. The Dremel died last year. But yeah, this will probably take till Sunday. After a bit of angle grinding, which went quicker than expected, I got the head removed with some damage. But yeah, I'm not too bothered about that. But I guess I will have to do some more angle grinding. Or I could try the hacksaw again. This worn down part might be soft enough for the Chinesium teeth to survive. But yeah, I cannot hold this. Maybe I can. I could try and put this in the vise like this. Yeah, why not try this? I got plenty of Chinesium hacksaw blades, and they all need to be tested. Alright, a brand new, professionally hardened steel Chinesium blade that is already missing a couple of teeth. Let's see if I can cut through this worn part. There shouldn't be any case hardening over here. It feels good. I think something is happening. Yeah, this is working. Real professional. Got it. the hole has become a bit oval, and that will be difficult to drill out because I do need to enlarge it a bit for the M8 bolt. Here you can see the front of the saddle, and quite a bit of material was worn away here. It's not as extreme as that B66S saddle, but yeah, it was definitely wearing away. On the other model, this front part was basically flat. Well, let's try and see if I can file a little bit away, because as it is, the M8 bolt is not fitting. One of my wonderful old red tail files. I think this belonged to my grandfather, and it was probably worn away somewhere in the I don't know, Second World War, maybe a bit later. But this is quite soft, and I think Brooks should change their design. Because this is the second saddle that I'm looking at with the same issue. But this still works easier than trying to enlarge this hole. I'm already done. That was quick. So now I can reassemble the frame. Just too bad that I don't have any new fasteners anymore. But this one is still okay, and it is long enough. I do have a new washer and a new lock nut. $13mm is not the right size. But the ring end of the spanner does work. Installed. At the moment the springs at the rear and the upper part of the frame do not really line up. I need to push them forward in order to insert the studs that are on the leather cover. Does anybody have any tips or ideas or procedures on how to best line these things up? Because these springs have been a bit frustrating for me. Too bad that I don't have any imperial dies, otherwise I would have tried to clean up this thread on this tensioning pin, because if you tension the leather too much, at some point that damaged part will become a problem. But I guess it will run out of this bracket before it gets to the damage. I guess that's not something I will have to worry about. I just noticed this crack in the frame that is riveted to the leather. I don't think it's a problem at the moment, but it will be a problem at some point. I could take out these rivets and replace them with nice copper ones. I've seen people do this on the internet. But yeah, it's too much work for now. So next I'm going to put some grease on the underside now that the frame has been removed. And this is clear stuff. And it's definitely no proof right. Although I've seen videos on the internet where people would soak these leather covers in water to make them smooth and supple again, and then they also try to get them back into shape by putting straps on the front here. I guess this one got stretched a little bit, but I don't think it will be a problem for my ass. And I'm not going to bother about the top side, because first I want to take it out for a test ride. I've also seen people use vegetable oils on the underside. I thought that was kind of interesting, but yeah, I need my oil to make pancakes, and I love pancakes. They are more important than leather saddles. Well, this will take a while, but I'm not going to film all this, because then the video, as usual, will get rather long and probably kind of boring. Using my pocket knife to try and get the leather behind this metal part, but with the help of the heat gun it should melt the grease right into place. Well, I hope it will help. And I did the same at the rear. So I got here the hairdryer. I tried to find the paint stripper, but that is almost 2 years missing. I should really try and find it, because I need to do some painting, house painting. Well, this is slower than I like, but I guess you don't need to burn your hairs off your head. That paint dryer would have worked better. But yeah, there really is no point in you guys watching this shit. After a long session with the hair dryer, the grease has melted sufficiently behind this metal piece, and this leather saddle has flared out a bit. I might need to put a wrap around this front section of the saddle. Although, yeah. First I will put the saddle back together and go for a test ride, because that was the plan when I started this morning. It's time to reassemble the saddle, and I'm not going to film all that. I'm just gonna say that I did back off the tensioning pin, and I did loosen up that new bolt that I installed. That way there will be some play at the rear, so I can force the springs back into position. Or try to force the springs back into position. Yeah, I think this will be a frustrating job. By the way, I'm not completely sure where these brackets and washers should go, underneath or on top of this part of the frame. I guess it doesn't matter all that much. I'll put the washers below to help reinforcing the frame that has a crack already. So, and then I will put these brackets on top. I think it looks good. Not sure if it is good, but to be honest, I don't care all that much at the moment. So it looks like that this a metal part that sits in the nose of the leather cover is a bit wide. So perhaps I should try and pinch this together a little bit in the vise. Just a little bit. At the front of the tensioning pin there's a little tab there, and I assume that is there to prevent the pin from turning together with the knot. but for some reason that is no longer working, and that makes reassembly rather difficult. So here's a look inside the front metal part of the saddle, and there really isn't anything that keeps the pin in place. It just keeps turning when I turn the nut. Not funny. So I removed this part of the frame, and now I'm having a hard time to retension the saddle, because the tensioning pin keeps turning with the nut. For some reason the notch on here is not grabbing into this front part. So I'm using a plier to grab the bolt or the tensioning pin in the rear, and then I can start turning. I think Brooks should put a Allen head into this, and for your information, I did put this front metal part into the vise to pinch it together just a little bit, so this metal frame would not be able to slide to from left to right. Perhaps this saddle has been stretched too much. I don't know. Perhaps I ruined it by using heat. Perhaps I should throw it in the washer, and hopefully then it will shrink again. But I really doubt that. But yeah, people on YouTube, they try the strangest and stupidest things. Okay, now I shall try and reinstall this piece. So the front of the tensioning pin came out of that part, so I'm redoing all of my work. Now where's my spinner? Where is Padre? Ah, there it is. Hopefully this time it will stay put. Perhaps I should modify the rear of the tensioning pin. I could grind a couple of flats on here, so I can grab it with a 6 or 7 millimeter spanner. It's an idea. I will tighten this up a little bit more. Not sure if it's a good idea, but yeah, you gotta try something. So now the struggle to reinstall this part of the frame can begin. First I need to remove these nuts, and I installed the washers underneath this frame, because this part here was wearing into this metal part. So putting the washers underneath here, and perhaps they are always meant to be installed underneath here, I don't know, but I think it was a good idea. And now I will put these brackets for the saddlebags on here, and now the fight to install these damn springs can begin. So far so good. Putting these to the side, and now perhaps I should install a washer under the nut. I think I'll do that. Perhaps it's a bad idea, I don't know. I will find out. found a couple of period correct washers, meaning they are not new. And I believe on my other saddles there were no washers. But I like washers. And I like saying washers. Come on, get in there. And lucky for me, the thread on the stud wasn't damaged, and I got both imperial nuts. So no struggles with using imperial and metric nuts. But installing these within the springs will always be a bit of a struggle. I think it is going. Look at me. I'm spinning a washer or a nut with a pair of pliers. How pathetic. But it works. It gets the job done. Well, I don't have a saddlebag, so I'm not going to bother with lining up those brackets. Okay, this is as tight as I'm going to make it. Alright, everything is back together. And it still looks okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll try to get those back into position later. I think now I can finally go for a test ride. After all, it is no longer raining. See what my ass thinks of this. It is flared out just a little bit. I saw a video on the YouTube where they had holes in the leather here, and then they used a lace to hold things together. I think that was kind of smart. Maybe I will try that someday. I almost forgot to tighten things up again, but well, this being metric, it won't be a hard job, and the bolt shouldn't spin. So, installed. A little bit too long, but yeah, I don't care. At least it is no longer rattling. Now I will drink my tea, and then I will go for a test ride. And I will tell you what I... Hey, I might even bring the camera. Damn, this is no Earl Grey. This is some funky strawberry shit. Whoever invented that should be hanged. Really, hanged and quartered. Twice. Yeah, I'm not going to drink this. As you can see, the sun is shining. This should still be loose on here. And here's the Brooks saddle that looks kind of huge, although it is only a centimeter longer than a B66S saddle. Well, I'll take this spanner with me when I go for my test ride. But first I will test fit this thing, or test sit this thing. Okay, I think this looks pretty. And it feels okay as well. Maybe I need to change the angle of the saddle just a little bit. But yeah, I think this will work. Right, I changed the angle of the saddle just a little bit. Let's try this again. Yeah, I think this is better. I can get used to this. And the leather is already softer than when I started. Alright, now I'm going to go for my test ride. I'll take this bag with me so I can bring my camera. And when I'm done with my test ride, I will continue scrapping this Altra bicycle. See you later. So I'm halfway into my ride, and so far so good. My ass isn't complaining, although I might change the angle of the saddle just a bit, because it feels like I'm sliding backwards. But yeah, these old fastening locks are kind of hard to adjust. Those more modern seat posts are a lot better. Alright, I think I should continue, but not before I give you a look around. The world is getting so green. It's a wonderful time of the year. Well, I should go back and think about starting to mow the grass. I will try and film a little bit more on the bicycle. The mud is getting dry already, dusty. Alright, here we go. It can get rather muddy here during the winter time, but so far it hasn't been a terribly wet winter. That yellow thing there, that's for a main gas line, so you better watch out when you're starting to play with a excavator. Alright, I think that's enough talking and cycling with one hand for today. I'm going to put this thing back into the camera. I'm going to put this thing back in the bag. Hi horsies. Because I think I'm only recording wind noise at the moment. I'm probably talking to myself like an idiot on a bicycle. Lucky there's no one here. Alright. I'm going to put you back into the bag. So I made it back from my test ride, about 15 kilometers, and well, my ass isn't complaining. It was actually pretty good for a first ride. It was definitely a lot better than this plastic piece of shit that feels like a boulder under your ass. Alright, let's take it off and then continue this inside the barn. It's annoying that there are nuts on both sides of this saddle. Now they're both on one side, but I still find them annoying. So yesterday I ran out of steam and failed to finish this video. I also did not scrap that Altra bicycle. I did, however, enjoy my ride on this freshly fixed up bicycle. It was sitting better than I expected. I think it was my most successful or my best ever ride on a leather saddle. It was definitely a lot better than that B66 model that I fixed up earlier. This one. Is it in frame? Alright, I think it is. It is still a bit sticky from all that grease that I slapped on here. And it might need a little bit more tensioning. But yeah, this one is going back in storage. Alright, next thing I need to do is put some of this leather cream on here. And before I do this, I want to clean off the surface. And I'm not sure what I'm going to use for that. I thought about lightly sanding the surface. But yeah, the risk of me fucking this up is always there. So I think I will use some this stuff. Not sure if it's a good idea, but I'm willing to try it. I'm willing to risk it. Let me get a rag. Not too much. I also just noticed that this saddle is missing the badge here. That's not a big deal. And these rivets, some of them, well, all of them are also lightly rusted. But I think my ass will take care of that. There's not a whole lot of dirt coming off the saddle. Well, I think that's clean enough. So I left the saddle to dry out a bit, and now I'm going to apply some of this leather cream. rapide. It smells a bit funny, but I'm sure it won't kill me. It is not soaking up as much of the cream as that other saddle. Because this saddle isn't as dry as that B66S model. But it is slowly soaking it up. It is also turning black. And that surprised me on the other saddle. It's changed from brown to black, even though this cream stuff is brown. A little bit more, and then I will go do something else and leave this to dry for a while. I'm putting some of this stuff on the edges of the leather. They do feel a bit dry. This leather cream is for horse riding saddles. But yeah, those are also made out of leather. I have no idea if I can over soak these saddles. Make them totally soft, too soft to sit on. Alright, I'm going to go and wash my hands and let this dry, and then later I will show you the result. So it's about an hour later, tea time, and the grease has been drying a bit, or cream. I can still feel it is a bit sticky. There's some resistance, but it feels a bit, yeah, a little bit wet. Alright, I will polish this up, and then I'm done with this saddle. This way I can make this video an hour long, easy, especially since I still need to scrap that Altra bicycle. But I think I will have to do that indoors, because now and then it is raining. Some black stuff is coming off. I'm hoping I didn't over grease this saddle, because then the leather might stretch too much, and you will end up sitting on the rails, just like that other Brooks saddle that I have. That will be a little bit more of a challenge to restore. Not sure how I am going to do that, because it is totally dried out and it has some cracks. Not big ones, it's not broken, but it is definitely a bit brittle. and I'm worried that if I tighten up the tensioning pin, it will screw everything up. You know what? I'll show you. So here's that saddle I was talking about, and as you can see, it is kind of banana shaped. It's sitting terrible. I tried it for one ride, and after 15 kilometers I removed it from the bicycle. You're really sitting on the frame. There's no space between the frame and the leather, or hardly any space, and certainly no space when you're sitting on it. And this one also has the same problem with this pin here. Actually, the whole top part of the frame, including the leather, has been pulled towards the back. It also has some tears, some cracks, because of the because it has dried out. It is really hard. Not sure how I am going to restore this. I've been thinking about soaking the underside in vegetable oil, and just put some drops on here and then leave it to soak for a few days, and then slowly retension the pin after I have replaced this pin. But I guess that will be a future project. For now, I got this one to cycle on. And I am pleased with the result. Alright. As you can see, I wrapped a ribbon around the front of the saddle, and I will let it sit for a few days like this, and then this thing will go onto my uncle's old bicycle. I might try and tighten this ribbon up a little bit more, because it's kind of awkward material to work with. Later I might try and punch a couple of holes in here and use a leather lace. That's I think that looks cool. Alright, now I'm going to scrap that Altra bicycle. I just noticed something that might explain why I like this saddle so much. As you can see, this spring has well, basically 3 coils, and the other saddle that I fixed up has 4, and the material on this spring is also a little bit thicker. This is 4.9 millimeters and this is 4.6. So yeah, I think this spring is maybe twice as stiff as this one. I don't know the exact formula. It's something like wire thickness times the number of coils divided by the radius, or pi. I guess this might be another good reason to try and lose some weight. Alright, now I'm really gonna scrap that Altra bicycle. Alright, Altra, your time on this world is basically over, and that nice red ribbon is not going to save you. I will admit that I kind of like the color and the frame, and to be honest, there's not a whole lot of things that are wrong with this bicycle. Sure, it needs a new rear tire. It is beyond repair, and the fender is kaput, and the 3-speed shifter doesn't work anymore. This trim piece on the chain guard is loose, but other than that, I don't think there's a whole lot wrong with this thing. But yeah, there are way too many bicycles in this world, in the Netherlands. So I guess I can improve the world one bicycle at a time. Some of the parts I will use for other projects. I like to make my own wheels using these aluminium rims, and I could probably also use the drum brakes for another bicycle, but the rest will probably go into my scrap metal container. So yeah, I will flip the bicycle and then I will start the slaughter. I must admit, this bell is sounding great. Perhaps it's the barn acoustics. I do not like these pre-molded grips. It has a nice aluminium handlebar. I might use that. I should bring this to safety. Alright, I will start easy with the front wheel. And these are Sachs drum brakes. I think they are now owned by SRAM or SRAM as the Americans say. Yeah. Yeah, I got it. Oh, it has a nice quick link, or a quick coupling. That's better than my other bicycle. And I do have a bicycle that has drum brakes like this, so I might use this wheel. Alright, next I'll remove the chain guard. So I have already removed these 4 screws, and now this should come off. And of course I want to do this without getting dirty hands, and that might be the difficult part. And I believe this is the same model chain guard as on my Chinesian bicycle. It's pretty dirty in there. There it is. Yeah, I failed. I forgot one screw. You know what? Is there a quick link on this chain? I believe there is. Found it! Let's remove this hazmat problem. And of course, it's stuck. It is stuck twice. Alright. This can go into the metal container. I'll be right back. I guess I should remove the cranks if I want to keep this trim piece. Next, let's take out the rear wheel so we can better see where we are. And I have already loosened up the brake reaction arm. That trim piece around the crank is like an annoying bell. It's messing with my recordings. Brake cable removed. Oh, lights. And there is the wheel. Okay, what's up next? So next I want to remove this crank, because this aluminium one is a lot nicer than that steel one that is on my uncle's old Gazelle bicycle. And I already removed the crank bolts. You really shouldn't forget that. But I heard some idiots sometimes forget it. It happens. Or so I have been told. And there it is. And now the other one. Hopefully this one will be just as easy to remove as the other one. That's tight enough. I think it is, yeah, it's coming. A major success story. Although I still cannot remove that loud trim piece. I guess I will have to remove the pedals. I shouldn't forget this chain guard bracket. Let's remove the kickstand as well. Hopefully it's longer than the one that I installed on my Chinesian bicycle. But I got my doubts. I think these are the best kickstands ever made. Alright, I will check if this is longer. I'll be right back. Nope! Just as long, or maybe a hair shorter. So I removed the carrier and the rear fender, so now it will fit easier into my scrap metal container. And I guess now it's time to chop up the frame with the angle grinder. It's kind of sad because it's a nice frame and there's hardly any rust on there. There hardly was any rust on the whole bicycle. It's kind of sad that it is ending this way. Yeah, shit happens. Oh, and I will keep the handlebar and the front fork, because I got another bicycle that is steering to the right, so it might be a problem with the front fork. Well, if nobody is going to stop me, then here come the sparks. I created a step-through frame. It's a miracle. Yeah, and the crowd goes wild. No way back now. Unless you're a very good welder. And now the last bit of action of tonight's slaughter. And it's all over now. I guess now all that remains is the cleanup. And tomorrow when it's light, I will throw all of this in the container And then we have an ending to this extremely long video. So here are all the bits that I'm keeping for now. And to the right are the leftovers that will end up in the scrap metal container. And then it will be like this. This bicycle was never rolling on this earth. And the same fate is waiting for all of us. I like to think that the bits that make up this video will survive a little bit longer. But yeah, probably not. Oh, and I'm also keeping the bell. I think that sounds fantastic. Wonderful sustain. Good morning. I better clean up this mess that I made yesterday. I'll start by putting away this saddle. And then it's time to put some stuff into the scrap metal container. Oh, I better save my crank board. Luckily it's not raining today. Hopefully it will stay that way. Let's have a look what's inside this bottom bracket. Because I'm a bit curious. Open for business. And now the Altra bicycle gets to join the Gazelle. Hope they have fun. And now I need to edit all this shit. Good morning. You want some food? Enjoy your day.